Hello. Today I will be featuring the Khabarovsk, the Soviet Tier 10 pure gunboat, since there is two Soviet Tier 10 DDs right now, of course the Grozovoi and the Khabarovsk. Now, the recent patch notes, the leaked patch notes, or well, not really leaked actually, it was more of an interview where Sub-Octavian let us know that they are finally planning on nerfing the Khabarovsk. And to be fair, it's about goddamn time. The Khabarovsk was already considered a very strong DD before they decided, for some reason, to increase the HE damage on the shells. The HE damage used to be 1.6k, but then quite recently they increased the HE damage to 1.9k. So the Khabarovsk was already very strong. With this change, of course, it became a complete monster. I mean, it's already pretty insanely strong, but with this change it became even more ridiculous. This game is a pretty decent example of this. These guys are in a division, of course. At 10 km you don't really have too many issues hitting DDs. These are I'm facing a Gearing and a Shima division with the Kurfürst, and I'm facing a Yugomo and Udaloy division. And I'm playing solo in this commentary. So the Khabarovsk, of course, it's about goddamn time it was nerfed. I don't really consider the ability to use the heal instead of a smoke. I never really considered it that big of a buff, because that was very playstyle dependent. Some people don't like the heal at all. They like the smoke style play and the ability to deal damage from smokes and so forth. Others like the heal more. Personally, I actually enjoy playing with the heal more because I like the fast-paced type of gunplay that you can engage in with this with using this consumable. But I can't go straight up and say that one is better than the other. It depends so heavily on what kind of playstyle you have. I like to have a very active playstyle in my Khaba, so I actually really enjoy the heal more than the smoke. But that's not, of course, going to be the case for everyone. Oh, this guy reversed in front of me. Accidentally hit him. Anyway, the nerf that they are, of course, finally... Wait, really? Someone is contesting? They know they know I'm here, because I shot and I was spotted. That is extremely questionable. It's gotta be on my left, in the smoke or on my left. And it seems he is... I'm spotted, so he's gotta be on the left. And there he is. And Yugomo this close, well, he's gonna eat a lot of damage before he gets out of this camp. And this is, of course, one of the issues, really, at these close ranges with these railguns and the increased HE damage. Well, no DD really had any chance. Now, I like the idea that they are proposing, which is probably to attack the maneuverability, close range maneuverability on the ship, which means, of course, at long ranges, thanks to the speed, it will still be able to dodge shells and so forth, but in close ranges, it would be more vulnerable. And I actually like this direction that Wargaming is taking, because the Khaba being the absolute king at range, I'm perfectly okay with this. It's always kind of been its role, but now with the increase of the HE damage that they added quite recently, it's of course also the king of close range, not just long range. I mean, fighting a Khaba in a Gearing or something, you just get... the Gearing just melts instantly at close range. The Gearing has absolutely no chance. It just gets completely annihilated. And that's of course thanks to the Khaba armor combined with the gun power and the increased HE damage. It's just so much pure DPM that the Gearing simply can't survive it. So kind of hitting that close range power is, in my opinion, a good decision from Wargaming, and honestly pretty much the only thing they could really nerf on it, because if they start attacking the gun power or the guns in general, then they also significantly impact its long range capabilities. But forcing the Khaba to be more of a long-range duelist, a long-range DD, is a good thing, because personally I think it's needed. The Khaba is without a doubt, in my opinion, the strongest tier 10 DD right now. I mean, not just stats-wise, but in general, it just has so much power. It can take on pretty much anything. It's not even too afraid of cruisers in general. I mean, there are exceptions, of course, cruisers that can deal a lot of damage to you, but thanks to your speed and such, you are quite easily able to outmaneuver them and play around it to, well, you if you have issues in general with the Khabarovsk right now, it's because of user error. Some ships are inherently limited. For example, gearing is limited to the amount of gun power it can bring at range thanks to the USDD arcs. Shimakaza is limited to torpedo range / how easily the torpedoes are detected. These are all limitations. The Khabarovsk right now doesn't really have too many limitations. Yes, it's a bit clumsier, yes, it's a bit bigger, but the downsides aren't harsh enough to justify just how powerful the ship is, both at close, medium, and long ranges. So trying to push for a more long-range role for the Khaba is, in my opinion, the best decision they could make. Because, well, it's big, it kind of plays like a cruiser, so keeping its comfort zone at long range is perfectly fine. But if you do manage to get close in an enemy DD, if an enemy DD manages to ambush the Khaba at close range, then I think the enemy DD should absolutely have an advantage. That should be an advantage in their favor. Right now, if you get ambushed close range by enemy DD in the Khaba, well, you just shit on them. It's not really much of a problem. Like, the only possible problem is that if you run heal like I do, they run smoke, they smoke up and start shooting you. But thanks to the speed and such, you can usually disengage pretty quickly. And by the time they have actually slowed down enough to smoke, they've already eaten more damage than they will probably deal to you in return. So, yeah. Not really a good... The Khaba isn't really in a good place right now. It's too powerful. It's too powerful for a DD. And I don't mean just too powerful against battleships. In fact, the proposed changes that Wargaming are doing, which is of course making the short-range combatability weaker, it just improves the situation for all the other DDs, which is a good thing. It will still be just as strong at burning down battleships and such, which is good because as of late it's felt very much like Wargaming is pampering battleships a fair amount, so keeping the long-range capabilities as they are will mean it's still just as strong against any sort of battleships and almost the same as against cruisers. But of course, the nerfing close-range maneuverability means that especially torpedoes, close-range torps, are significantly more dangerous on the Khaba. In fact, if the changes go through, as I expect they will, I mean, you don't really need to see too many stats to know that increasing the DPM on the guns as much as they did made this ship overpowered. I mean, it was kind of predictable. It was the most unnecessary buff for the Khaba ever, so it's obvious that they have to somehow impact it or like change it in another way. So it's a good change, and I actually like it. Some of the other changes, however, I'm not too big of a fan of. For those that aren't aware, they are buffing the IGN DDs, but once again they are buffing the IGN DDs in the absolute worst possible way. They're gonna increase the turret rotation some more. They call it quality of life improvements, but increasing the turret rotation on IGN DDs doesn't really do shit, because regardless of how good... Oh, here's actually an example, like what happens when the DD ambushes you. Yugomo, torpedo boat, ambushes me at 4 km, catches me completely by surprise, and he has no chance. I know he launched his torps, so I just turn away, and the sheer DPM that this ship puts out close range, I mean, it doesn't matter Yugomod, gearing, whatever, you just melt so fast. And honestly, I'm just slowing down at this point so I can kill him in peace here. Pop my heal to repair the broken engine, so I want to slow down properly, and I just out DPM him in seconds. And yeah, that thing is a bit silly. Anyway, what I was saying, the IGN DDs, they are changing the gun, the turret traverse on them, and I think that's a horrible, horrible fix. Because the issue with IGN DDs is how shit their torps are compared to US DDs, even compared to German DDs. Hell, everyone has better fucking torps than the IGN DDs, which makes no real sense, because the biggest issue right now with IGN DDs is that they are the only pretty much purely torp focused line, but they have the most easily spottable torps in the entire game, which is absolutely stupid. In fact, the best torpedo boat in the entire game is probably the Fletcher, which is the US tier 9. And increasing the turret traverse, that's not going to make them better. I mean, no matter how good your turret traverse is, you're still not going to be able to outgun a US DD, or you're not going to be able to outgun a Russian DD or a German DD, because your DPM is too low. You don't deal enough damage. So regardless of how much they keep buffing, that turret traverse, it's not going to change the fact that in a straight up fight you will get shat on. So the actual impact it will have will be extremely minimal. It won't change the fact that the torpedoes on everyone else is better. And I still see no real reason to encourage playing the IGN DD line for anyone. I mean, they claim Sub-Octavian even replied on Reddit, and he said that he thinks the IGN torpedoes are fine. Well, I have to ask this. If the IGN torpedoes are fine, then what exactly are the gearing torpedoes that deal 19k damage, go 66 knots, have 10.5 km range, and unlike IGN torps that have a spotting of 1.9 km, the Fletcher torps have a spotting of 1.4. That's 500 meters. That's like literally the IGN DDs are 33% easier to spot. So if the IGN torps are fine, then by that very same logic, those Fletcher torps must be overpowered, because there is no way two so completely different torpedo types could be called both fine. He can't call them both fine. That doesn't work. Either one is strong and the other is weak, or one is fine and the other is overpowered. That's how it works. You can't just go, oh, they're both fine, but one is just shit tons better than the other. That makes no sense. So I am still surprised by their honest, complete inability to address the fact that US DDs are still better torpedo boats than the IGN torpedo boats. While at the same time, of course, having better defensive AA, or better AA in general, having much better smokes, having better gun power, like all these other advantages on top. So, yeah, I don't really understand what they're thinking in this fact. Udalo, of course, burned down here in the game, and I'm just starting to burn down the Yamato. This game is actually fairly close at this point. This North Carolina is going to eat those torps, hence why I torped. Otherwise, I would never recommend torping like that behind a friendly battleship, because it significantly hinders his maneuverability. Like these other torps that were already sent, they were super risky to send them that early. But as soon as I saw he would eat the gearing torps, I knew he would be dead, so my torps would no longer have any impact. Of course, the Khaba also has 10 km torps. Once again, I don't really mind this. Whoa, some heavy desync going on there. I don't really mind the 10 km torps. Once again, it works well with the whole long range type of playstyle, which I think should be encouraged. This should be Khaba's role, the long range type of gunfight. It's when you're close range that this ship shouldn't be as powerful, which is, once again, this is one of the better changes. So, wow, I really didn't get that kill for my Kraken. That's a bit rude. Anyway, some of the changes they make, for example, changing the Khaba is good, but the IGN changes, completely ridiculous. Now there have been some other things that are revealed in the patch notes. It's already been leaked all over the net, so there's no reason for me not to talk about it. As of course, they are significantly changing the Henry 4, or the HIV as I affectionately like to call it. They're giving it better crop values. They're removing some of the air drag, so the AP shells don't slow down as much in midair, which will give it better penetration. So these things will probably mean that I will have to make a completely new commentary or a preview. First preview of that ship, since obviously they are buffing it significantly, which was to be expected considering how utterly shit the Henry 4 was. They're also increasing, I think, the reload on some of the other high tier ships, like the Saint Louis. The tier 9 is getting a 2-second increase in reload, and I think the Martel, the tier 8, is also getting a 2-second increase, well, decrease in reload, not increase, decrease. It's going from 12 seconds to 10. So these will of course have a significant impact on the DPM and will make the ships in general much better. So the latest patch notes, some things are fantastic, or something, well, fantastic, some things are great. They're also buffing the Duca d'Aosta, by the way. They're buffing it. They're giving it faster turret traverse. They're giving it 12 km torps. So the ship that I already recommended, I'll have to make a new commentary where I'll probably recommend it even more. And they are nerfing the low tier French, which I don't really understand, including the tier 6. They're nerfing the tier 6. Don't really agree with that. Don't really understand it. But ultimately, though, the patch looks fairly good. I mean, some good decisions, some decisions that are a bit questionable. They're buffing the Grossovoy again, which I find a bit questionable because I thought the Grossovoy was in a pretty good spot. In fact, I was already about to post a commentary on the Grossovoy. I had like a 200k damage game in the Grossovoy, and I thought it really showcased how strong the Grossovoy is now with the changes. But they're gonna buff the Grossovoy even more, so while they're nerfing one Soviet deity, it seems like feels like they might be even over buffing the other. That remains to be seen though. Anyway, this Khabarovsk game ends. It was my first win of the day, so I got like 14k XP, 207k. I didn't get my Kraken, since I didn't get the Yamato or the gearing at the end, which kind of pisses me off, but still 600k silver for this game, 2.7k base XP. With the Kraken and another kill, I might have been approaching 3k, which would have been nice, but I mean, in this game though, I faced Yugumo Shima, Udaloi, Gearing, Yugumo, and none of them really was any threat to me at all. And this is of course a bit stupid, and I'm actually glad that they will be changing this a bit so that you feel more threatened by the enemy deities than you do right now in the Khaba. Got fairly close to Wither, didn't quite get it. Fairly close, but not quite there. But ultimately though, this commentary wasn't as much just purely about the changes to Khaba, but also the future changes that we're going to be seeing in the patch notes. I will of course be returning to all these ships and covering them now I think on Thursday the patch goes live, so expect some updates starting from then. Anyway, that was all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed it.